Police in Juneau County are still searching for Virgil Thu. The 47-year-old is facing 3 homicide charges in connection to the death of a woman and 2 kids. We received a formal criminal complaint today. WMTV's Shayna Najawan is here now with more. And Shayna, what did you learn from that report today?
Mark, we learned that Thu was involved in a trespassing incident on December 29th. He was seen walking on private property with what is believed to be a long gun that he was trying to conceal. The next day, 3 bodies were found at his home. They belong to 33-year-old Elizabeth Kolba, Thu's girlfriend, and 2 girls, 12 and 13. One of the kids is Thu's stepdaughter, and we aren't sure what his relationship to the other girl is. The criminal complaint says all 3 victims were found with gunshot wounds, and at that point, Thu was identified as a person of interest. Just yesterday, he was seen on a trail cam in rural Lisbon Township. Now, according to the complaint, Thu is now facing 3 charges of first-degree intentional homicide, and he could see life in prison if convicted. Live in the newsroom, Shayna Najawan, WMTV 15 News.
Thank you. Thu is described as 5'11", around 160 pounds, with blue eyes and brown hair. Anyone who sees him is urged not to approach him. Call 911 right away. He's considered armed and dangerous.